Let's talk about my fascinating, brilliant life. Where should we begin? Oh, let's talk about obsession. When, for example, a man will spend night and day thinking about nothing else except the moon. Well, I've had my own moon. Day and night, one persistent thought overwhelms me. I have to write, I have to write, I have to. No sooner have I finished one story than for some reason I have to write another, and then a third, and then a fourth. I write constantly as if I'm in a relay race. Now, what's so wonderful and brilliant about that, I ask you? Oh, what a cruel world. Here I am with you, all excited. And yet the whole time I'm thinking about the unfinished story that's waiting for me. I'll see that cloud, the one that looks like a piano, and I'll think, oh, I've got to put that in a story somewhere. Oh, a cloud was sailing by. A cloud that looked like a grand piano. The smell of heliotrope. Right away, I'll make a note of it. Sweetish scent, pinkish purple, used when describing a summer's evening. Every phrase, every word you and I utter, I'll snatch them up as fast as I can and lock them away in my literary closet. Perhaps I'll use them someday. And when I'm through working, I'll run off to the theater or go fishing to rest, to lose myself, but no. Oh, there it is already, casting around in my head like an iron cannonball. New plot. And already it's pulling me back to my desk and I'm racing to write it down, to write. And that's the way it always is. I have no peace for myself. And I feel that I'm devouring my own life. But in order to get the sweet honey that I give to my nameless, faceless public, I'm gathering the pollen from my own best flowers, then I'm tearing these flowers up and trampling their roots. Not really. Am I not crazy? Huh? My nearest and dearest treat me as a sane man, really. What are you writing now? What new gift will you bestow upon us next? And so on and so on. And I begin to think that all the attention my friends give me, the praise, the admiration, that it's all a lie. That they're deceiving me like they would a sick man. And I'm terrified that what they're going to do is creep up behind me and grab me and carry me off to the madhouse like that poor fellow in Gogol's story. And even in the early years, the best years when I was starting out, my writing was one continuous torture. A young writer, especially when he hasn't had any luck yet, is awkward, clumsy. He's tense, on edge. He's constantly hanging around other writers and artists, unrecognized, unnoticed, afraid to look anyone straight in the eye, like a compulsive gambler who has no money. I couldn't see my reader. And yet, somehow I imagined him as unfriendly, mistrustful. I was afraid of my audience. They terrified me. And I would imagine that everyone with fair hair was hostile, and everyone with dark hair was cold and indifferent. Oh, how terrible. What torture.
Forgive me, but inspiration and the creative process, don't they give you moments of greatest happiness?
Yes, when I'm writing, it's fine. And when I'm reading the proofs, it's fine, but no sooner has it come off the press than already I can't stand it. It's all wrong, a mistake, I never should have written it. I'm irritable and I feel terrible. Meanwhile, the public is reading. Yes, charming and witty, but Tolstoy it is not. Or wonderful, but Turgenev's Fathers and Sons is better. So on and so on, and so it will be to my dying day. Charming and witty, never anything more. And all my friends will say as they file past my grave, here lies Tagore. He was a good writer, but not as good as Turgenev.
Forgive me, but I can't understand you. You're just spoiled by success.
What success? I never like myself and I don't like my own work. Worst of all, I walk around in a kind of daze and half the time I don't even know what I'm writing. Oh. Look. I love this lake, the trees, the sky. I feel nature. It arouses a great passion within me, an uncontrollable urge to write. I'm not a landscape painter, am I? I'm a Russian. I love my native land. I feel that as a Russian, I'm obligated to write about the people, about their suffering, about their future, about the issues of science and the rights of men. And so I write about all of it urgently, and they drive me on and on, angrily, back and forth. They chase like a fox with the hounds at my heels, and all the while, life and science advance onward, ever onward, leaving me behind, far behind. Like a peasant chasing after the train he's missed. And in the end, I feel that all I know how to write is landscape. And with everything else, I'm a fraud. Fraud down to the marrow of my bone.
You're lost in your work. You've neither the time nor the desire to recognize your own importance. If I were a writer, like you, I would give my entire life to the multitude, knowing that their happiness lay only in reaching my height, so that then they could draw me in my chariot.
Well now, a chariot. What am I? Agamemnon?
For the happiness of being a writer or an actress, I would endure rejection of my loved ones, poverty and disillusionment. I'd live in a garret. I'd eat only black bread. I'd suffer discontent and disappointment in myself. But for all of this, I shall have fame. Resounding fame. My head is spinning. Boris!
I'm being summoned. Must be time to pack. Oh, I don't feel like going. Look how wonderful it is here. Oh, what a paradise.
Do you see the house and garden on the other shore?
Yeah.
That was my late mother's country estate. I was born there. I've spent my whole life on this lake. I know every little element.
It's so wonderful here. What's that?
Seagull. Constantine showed it.
Seagulls. They're lovely birds. Oh, you must feel like going. Try to convince Irina Nikolaevich to stay.
What are you writing?
Just making a note. An idea came to me, an idea for a story. Once upon a time, there lived a young girl by the shore of a lake. A young girl like you. She loved the lake like a seagull. She was happy and free like a seagull. But one day, by chance, there came a man who saw her, and for lack of anything better to do, destroyed her. Like this seagull.